Welcome to episode 2 of r/AskReddit. Created by Raunchy Reddits. Serious. Do you personally know a murderer? What were they like? Why did they kill someone? A friend of mine stabbed his father when he was 16 years old, with kitchen knife. His father was a drug dealer, had many issues with police, and was beating the crap of him and his mother. One day it was simply too much. It was like 15 years ago. My friend now has a normal family, is a cheerful guy, and you wouldn't ever tell he has done something like this. My grandfather. He grew up on a ranch. One day a bunch of kids came over. After about 1/2 hour, he noticed his younger sister wasn't around. He went around the side of the barn, and there he found one of his fellow classmates raping grandfather's sister. He punched the guy hard enough in the head, that the guy died on the spot. Grandfather only served 1 month in county given the circumstances. Met one a while back at a gas station on my way to Gainesville. Was pumping gas and a guy came up and just started chatting about how beautiful a day it was. He apologized and just said he was in such a great mood he had to share it with someone. He told me he had just gotten out of jail that morning, where he spent 8 years for killing the man that raped his 13-year-old daughter. He was on his way to go see her. We chatted for a few minutes and he had a poetic-like monologue about not taking your life, freedom, and loved ones for granted. He started crying. I gave him a hug and wished him the best of luck. Shout out to Octavius, I won't ever forget you. I worked with someone that killed someone in self-defense. I didn't believe his story, which is probably why he served time for the incident. The story he told was that he was having sex with some girl and her husband came home and found them and immediately attacked him. He said he didn't want to fight him but killed him in self-defense. Some months after we hired him we got word that he also had some child molestation in his criminal record. Once that word spread around he disappeared. He had stolen some stuff from coworkers before he left. 2 weeks later he was robbed and killed outside a bar near work. My wife recently received a call from one of her family members that shocked her. Her uncle was arrested in Michigan for a murder that happened like 20 years ago. Apparently, a drug deal went bad and he had killed this woman and then fled the state. For the next 20 years, he was completely normal, despite being investigated and questioned on 2 separate occasions, both of which he was able to keep hidden from the family. He recently returned to Michigan and was arrested due to DNA linking him to the murder and is now on a $1 million bond. The whole family was shocked as they never knew. Knew her in school about a year before she did anything. She really wanted a baby and was one of those women in the mid-o who cut a baby out of a pregnant woman's stomach. Lured her to a motel with a promise of selling baby clothes, then tied her down and did what she could. When I knew her she was nice, if a bit snooty. She was much closer to my friend than me, but if I was given a lineup of everyone I went to school list, she wouldn't have made top 10 potential murderers. Knew her in school about a year before she did anything. She really wanted a baby and was one of those women in the mid-o who cut a baby out of a pregnant woman's stomach. Lured her to a motel with a promise of selling baby clothes, then tied her down and did what she could. When I knew her she was nice, if a bit snooty. She was much closer to my friend than me, but if I was given a lineup of everyone I went to school list, she wouldn't have made top 10 potential murderers. Normal family. Dad, mom and 3 children. They lived in front of the house where we moved to when I was around 11. Everything was normal. We weren't the closest neighbors, just an always greet them with a smile kind of relationship. When I was around 16 he killed his wife with a knife, in his house, in front of his children. They were kids, I think their brains made up a story about a monster when they were in court. They still love his dad, visited him in jail, and moved back with him after he was released years after. I know 2, allegedly. There was a couple who used to come to open board game night at our flat. They seemed to be okay people. He was a veteran and they had adopted a special needs kid when he was like 12 or 13. So they seemed like decent people. Something I felt was always off about her though, their adoptive kid was deaf, and they never let him interact with anyone, and she pretended to know sign language when it was clear she was faking it. I always felt something was off about her. Fast forward 8 months and we hear their trailer burned down and their adoptive kid didn't make it out being special needs and deaf. There was nothing to warn him. Turns out like a month later they killed him, either on accident or on purpose, and set the trailer on fire to try and cover it up. One's in jail, the other's on out bail, but will be back in jail soon I hope. Trust your instincts on people, I guess. Our neighbor was an amazing family friend. I thought she was my grandma until I was about 10. When I was about 3, her brother killed their mom. I don't know how, just that it happened. One of my earliest memories is helping clean out her house. He was schizophrenic and thought she was going to kill him. He went to a mental institution, got properly medicated, and our friend kept close to him. She has a twin sister who reacted differently than her, so I didn't actually know of the twin sister's existence until I was about 15. When our friend passed away, my mom started talking to the brother more often. Our friend asked her to make sure he was taken care of and we were her family, as she fell out of touch with her family after the incident. He's actually very sweet. Acts a bit like a child, but in a sweet way. He loves animals. Our friend talked about my sister and I a lot with him because we work with animals, so he loves hearing about that. He's very polite. He sometimes asks for very small things and thanks my mom a million times for whatever it is. When I was a kid in Mexico, my sister was best friends with this girl. She was a really sweet girl. Kind, funny, awesome. She had a bright future. We moved away and later it was discovered that her dad and older brothers were criminals. Her dad was arrested and is in jail at the moment. He was charged with kidnapping and God knows what else. Her brothers weren't arrested. The local community didn't like the fact that she was related to a kidnapper, especially because a lot of kids go missing in Mexico City, and they began to harass her. She was a teenager. She didn't know anything. Her brothers got pissed and shot some guys that were harassing her and got sent to jail themselves. I don't know what happened to her mom. I know my sister's friend is going through a lot of crap at the moment. She began to drink and do drugs. She never really recovered from what happened. I seriously hope she someday does. She was a good person. Her brothers were awesome. I was just a kid when I met them. I hung out a lot at their place. Their dad was cool and quiet. Her mom babysat me sometimes and helped out when my dog was pregnant. Her brothers were awesome. Mind you, I was about 8 at the time and little kids aren't known for being objective. They all seemed like a good family. I had no idea what they were really like. A former neighbor killed his mother after a dispute over money escalated. When he realized what he had just done, he lit the mother's house on fire, but forensic experts determined she had died before the fire. He went to jail, leaving his daughter and pregnant wife behind, and hung himself 3 months later in his cell. He always struck me as a caring father and husband, always friendly. The murder was by no means predetermined, but still it surprises me that such a normal man can be driven to such an act. We hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to subscribe to our brand new channel for more great Reddit readings.